Aye, it was good again, wasn't it? Private Party versus Young Bucks is my match of the week so far, and I say so far because I haven't seen Volta versus Kushida yet, and that could change everything. Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc, that was short, yet gnarly. We had the women's tag team match, which had a mixture of liquid wrestling and hard-hitting stuff, B. Priestley, you naughty woman. Then we had Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley, an old-fashioned slugfest with the evil Tully Blanchard adding a little bit of evil garnish. It was lovely. And then we had the final tag team match, which raised two questions for me. First of all, what the hell has Sammy Guevara done backstage to piss off Hangman Page and to piss off Dustin Rhodes, who cares? So much that both those men leathered him right in the head for real, it looked like. And second of all, what kind of ungodly multivitamins is Dustin Rhodes taking at the minute? What an unbelievable performance. And of course, the big old schmoz at the end, which was just like, once again, an end to an episode of Raw from the year 2000. That's my kind of wrestling. Let's get cracking with the moment, shall we? I'm Ross Fidel from Cultaholic.com, your Cultaholic World Heavyweight Champion. I've had a coffee. WTF! Now that there is a sign claiming that Kenny Omega is a weeb, and if you don't know, a weeb is a person who is so obsessed with Japanese culture that they wish they were Japanese themselves. And because I was worried this video wasn't going to get to 10 minutes, I always thought that, judging by his hairpiece, Kenny Omega, he never wanted to be Japanese, he always wanted to be a Spaniel. Therefore, that sign there is a WTF moment. What are they there for? They're not even in the tournament because they're rubbish. They're not rubbish, are they? They're very good. Them being sat there during that opening tag team match as part of the tag team tournament is just like Mike Ashley of my beloved Newcastle United, who has killed something worse than anything has ever been killed before. But it's like Mike Ashley turning up to the Champions League draw, even though Newcastle will never be in it again as long as that fat prick is associated with my beloved club. This isn't a football video. I guess what they're doing there is taking a leaf from grannies around the world's playbooks when they tell their grandchildren who are looking for a job, well, you've got to go down there and show that you're keen. Because if you harass people, you get jobs. Hey. Fart. Now, I can't remember if I said there was a Cultaholic sign at last week's AEW Dynamite, so pardon me if this is wrong, but those there are a world first as a Cultaholic sign appears at an AEW Dynamite taping. Thank you very much to a Rogue Warrior in the crowd for one of those signs, and also thanks goes to the UWO podcast. And for contractual reasons, I need to say that podcast there, the UWO podcast, is significantly worse than the Cultaholic Wrestling podcast, which you can see on this YouTube channel every Friday. But next time you go to an AEW show, do what these lovely people have done. Now, I know I've made this a WTF Moments in videos in the past, but Jim Ross said it once again, so once again, I've got to make it a WTF moment, because when Nick Jackson's bloody nose was revealed as part of that opening tag team match, Jim Ross sat there and said, "This isn't ballet, by God." And I'm here to say to you, Jim, look at the state of ballet dancers' feet. They're pissing horrible, man. Go on, the ballet dancers. Yeah, I've got to think of something to say here. That's mature. What do you call Luchasaurus's cousin who is made of cheese? Gorgonzilla. Britt Baker recently opened a cheesy dentist. She cleans people's teeth with dental schloss. And believe me, schloss, SCHLOSS, is an actual cheese, so that there is a joke. Which it isn't really, because I've had to explain it. What does Hangman Page use to hide his horses? Mascarpone. And some people may say that Hangman Page is also unhappy that he didn't capture the AEW title in that match against Chris Jericho. Some say he fell at the final curdle. And also, Jon Moxley used to work with Brie. So I've listened to Jim Ross's podcast for so many years now, and so many times I've heard that man bemoan WWE for not using time limits in their matches. So therefore, I reckon he permanently has a stiffy when he's sat behind the commentary table on an AEW show, because as we all know, AEW use those their time limits. So when he was sat there during that opening tag team match and Justin Roberts said on the microphone, "There's 10 minutes remaining," and Jim was sat there like, "What was that?" It's clear for all to see that Jim's stiffy for the time limits is distracting him. highbrow stuff here. Now, I don't know about you, but I literally thought that was Dolph Ziggler. But then I realised it's Chris Jericho, a man who has proven beyond any shadows of any doubts over the years that he gets the concept of irony. Therefore, I hope this is just a start. And as the weeks goes on, Chris Jericho looks like a bigger dick and a bigger dick and a bigger dick until he finally explodes into 1,000 dicks. Irony, of course, is something that Dolph Ziggler doesn't get, who appears to be having a midlife crisis by thinking he's actually in Motley Crue. I guess that's the real reason why Moxley left WWE then. So next up we have Chris Jericho basically admitting to the world that he wants to have a little bit of the cuddly with Sammy Guevara. Chris Jericho wants to do a little bit of the hibbity-dibbity with that Spanish-looking god. God, not God. But then, after gushing all of that, whatever that is, on Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho then said that Sammy is on his list. So Chris doesn't like Sammy, or he likes him so much that he loathes him. Or he's forgotten about the very concept that was Chris Jericho's list. Who knows? And next up we have Chris saying that that man there, his real name is Jake Hagar. Jake Hagar? Huh? And then he said, "We the people sucks," and it's dead and buried. Huh? According to Chris, it was a stupid idea from bad creative, and now it's gone. Huh? And there's no wonder that Jake Hagar, that we've now got to call him apparently, looked like he crapped his pants right here, because Chris, in his mind, if you watch Bellator, you can clearly see that Jake Hagar believes that We the People is very much alive and well. It's not buried in his mind, Chris. It's above ground, it's roundy, it's got a massive foamer, whatever one of those is. But also, I've got to laugh at the way that segment played out, because it played out with Chris Jericho saying, "Look at this big hunk of blonde beef. There's Jake Hagar." The crowd organically start chanting "We the People." It was deafening. Chris goes, "No, shut up, it was crap. WWE are crap as well." Then the people are like, "Yeah, We the People's crap, boo." We're easily swayed, aren't we? And I guess I also have to bring up Chris bringing up Jake Hagar's undefeated MMA record. And I know that's something I brought up last week to add legitimacy to Jake Hagar's makeup in a professional wrestling ring, but I forgot that I quite literally was Jake Hagar's first opponent in a Bellator octagon. Easy for me to say. And quite frankly, Chris Jericho, if you're beating me up, it's not much to brag about, because I bruise like a peach. And next up, we have to give a massive old pat on the back, or a can of Coke there, to the person who puts the graphics on screen on Dynamite. Chris Jericho was in the process of revealing his boy band's brand new name. He barely had "We Are the Inner Circle" out of his mouth, and the thing was there in the top corner of the screen. You're like Kevin Dunn, but done good. And I guess I have to bring this up because we have been selling that there t-shirt there since we became a thing all the way back in November of 2017. And no, I'm not claiming that we came up with the Inner Circle in terms of professional wrestling. I'm just challenging AEW's Inner Circle to have a match with our Inner Circle, a ladder match for the custody of the Inner Circle name, even though we never ever referenced that thing there, but it's been a thing for like 2 years now, so it counts all right. And before AEW's Inner Circle, who will not watch this video because they have lives to live, laugh at my proposal there, just look at Adam Pachiti's upper lip these days, lads. He will shag you all to death, all 5 of you. And also, Chris, my belt is better and more prestigious than yours. Je suis les champions. Tu es a big merde tête, or a canard. I've just sworn in French. And next up we have Big Tony Schiavone, who was once again on fire, just like he was last week. He was fantastic, saying he's seen a lot of Jimmy Havoc's matches down the years, and in each of every one of Jimmy Havoc's matches, there's been pain in them. The pain that Jimmy wants to inflict on others. But isn't that the same for every single wrestler who wrestles a wrestling match ever, Tony? They all hurt, don't they? But maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on Tony Schiavone. Shock and horror, me clutching at straws, who would have thought it? Because the kind of pain Jimmy Havoc makes you feel is a different kind of pain, a pain that I've personally never felt before, as he emasculated me on an episode of Straight to Hell on this illustrious YouTube channel earlier this year, I think it was. I'll never forget that. Oh. Two professional wrestlers on the same professional wrestling roster cannot have the same finishing move because that's the way the wrestling works apparently. Therefore, Britt Baker, therefore, War Jody Pack, we're going to have a custody of the brutalizer / whatever Britt Baker calls her brutalizer ladder match. Is something I was going to say before Britt Baker started using the mandible claw right at the end of hers, which means, Jody Pack, I'm sorry Bonnie lad, but you need a new submission finisher because she's won. Hers is better. And some say that Justin Roberts is still saying the Gian in Jon Moxley right now as I stand here on a Thursday afternoon. Hey, they moved that camera that I didn't think worked last week in the position it was on last week's Dynamite. Are they watching? Of course they're not. But that just looks great, doesn't it? And next up we have a direct quote from Excalibur, and because I'm a hack, I'm making this mean something it obviously did not mean. When he said, well, it is the referee's discretion, I don't think anyone wants to see this match end in a disqualification. Hell in a Cell. Hack theory. And then in terms of WTF moments, the night completely dried up for a very long time, just like one of Chris Jericho's bubbly baths when he's let the plug out. That was until we got to the moment that will result in the firing of Chris Jericho from All Elite Wrestling. There's no doubt about it. Justin Roberts at ringside was having horrible flashbacks, the poor bastard. But then we got to the really shocking realization that while MJF is a massive dick, he's not really that much of a dick. He's a really loyal friend. And even though I can't like MJF because I just know if we ever met, he would call me names like turkey titties, it turns out that that dick is actually quite a swell guy who would stick up for his pals. Therefore, I think this thing that's coming up right now has never been more fitting than it is right now with this shocking realization head for the borders. The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh. And as we all know, not all WTF moments have to be negative, so this one was beyond our wildest dreams. As Darby Allin skateboarded his way down the ramp into a flying clothesline onto Chris Jericho. Good. And next up we have Chris Jericho saying the following: Darby, I'll see you next week. It's your funeral, bitch. Won't Darby like that, Chris? Doesn't he like being body bagged and killed numerous times when he steps into a professional wrestling ring? Chris, you're being nothing more than a kink enabler. Put that on a t-shirt. Bet it sells none. And now it's time for this.
Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank.
Hello and welcome back to Wankety Wank, the section of WTF moments where I miss a WTF moment, you tweet me with the WTF moment I've missed, and I shout you out and give you all the credit because we're all good friends here. Thanks to Jimmy McKenna for pointing this out, which has to be true, and therefore a WTF moment. And that's it for all the WTF moments from AEW Dynamite episode 2. Which cheese is made backwards? Edam. Made backwards. Why don't AEW superstars make their wrestling gear from cheese? Because fromage phrase. And finally, cheese. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can play us to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us